Let's do it. We are going to be on page 79 in grammar. So go to 79. Let me get my camera going. There it is. Okay, 79, interjections. I feel like I want to sing it, but I'm too tired too, so I'm not going to sing it, but I am going to attach the link to one of our favorite Schoolhouse Rock videos, Interjection. It's a good one, but basically it's just expressing an emotion. Sometimes it's a strong emotion like this one, wow, with an exclamation point. He hit the bullseye. Sometimes it could be like, watch out, or no way, or whoa, or something like that with an exclamation point. Sometimes it's not so strong, like this one. Like you're thinking, he still has one arrow. So something like that is only going to require a comma. It depends on if it's a strong emotion, put an exclamation point. You guys already know that. If it's not strong, or if it's like a oh, comma, whatever after that. Okay, and then we're going to talk about capitalization. So basically, it's easy to remember because you capitalize the interjection because it is kind of like the beginning of a sentence. It's a one word. It's not a sentence. It's called an interjection, but you treat it like a sentence with an end mark if it's a strong emotion. If it's like this, yikes. Then after that, obviously you need a capital. Okay, you treat it like an end mark there. He killed the king's deer. And then we've got something called imperative sentence, or it has an implied subject. This is tricky. This might be new for you. An imperative sentence gives a command or makes a request. And we've talked about noun of direct address before when you're talking to a character or a person. Like if I say, William, go get your grammar book. I'm just kidding, but I'm giving an example. If I'm talking to William, that's a noun of direct address. I would put his name in the quotes, right? I'm talking to him. But sometimes the name isn't there. So it's implied that they're talking to someone. So every verb has a subject. We already know that. They're subject verb pairs. A noun or pronoun that performs the verb action. That's what the subject is. However, in the imperative sentence does not have a written subject. Rather, the subject is implied. That means it's not there, it's invisible, but it's you're assuming the subject basically. Because commands are always directed towards someone or something, the subject of an imperative sentence is always you. And it is in a quote. Read the sentence and look for the verb and ask who or what is doing that verb. If the sentence forms a command, the subject is you. So you're going to actually write you in parentheses to show the subject. Write V above each verb and S above you. So notice in the lighter text here, this is the original sentence. It just says step up to the mark. And you is not originally there, but I see the word step is a verb. So if you ask yourself, well, who's doing that? It's not there. It's implied. You're going to write in you in parentheses and put the S above that. Okay, that's something to watch out for now in the grammar book. When you guys go to write the sentence at the end, at the bottom, you don't have to write you because it's not really there. It's implied. Okay, it's not actually there. All right. We'll do a practice in a minute, but go to page 80. Talking about another homophone. Remember, those are the ones that sound the same, different spelling, different meaning. And we're looking at the end of that first little paragraph, whose and whose. Those are the two homophones now they're going to throw in here for you guys. Whose and whose. One has an apostrophe and one does not. Whose, without the apostrophe, WHOSE, is a possessive pronoun. Whose arrows, meaning the arrows belong to whom? Whose arrows? Okay, so Robin, whose arrows were in his quiver, that's what that thing is in the back of your, like you carry in the back behind you, the arrows. Robin, whose arrows were in his quiver, was looking for a target. I don't know, making up a sentence, meaning that the arrows belong to him. Okay. You can use that now in a who which clause. Even in your writing, if you want to use whose, WHOSE, you can instead of who or which. And then whose with an apostrophe is a contraction. That's who is. Who's tired? Who is tired? Like I could say Caden, who's tired, is smiling today. I'm just guessing you might be tired. I'm not saying that you really are. I feel tired. Mrs. C, who's tired, is still smiling. Okay. Anyway, you're gonna place a line through the ones they did wrong because they're gonna do that on purpose for you guys, and then you gotta fix it. So draw a line. This one should be whose bow is this? So here it's used as a question word. Who's ready to shoot next? That's another question word here. Who is ready to shoot next? All right, that's it. Let's go to the practice. And how about William? Can you read the sentence, please? The two sentences here. Oh, I can't hear you. I saw that you unmuted, but I couldn't hear your voice. Did anybody hear him? No? I think your microphone might not. I can't hear you. Weird. Wait, did you put it in front of your mouth, the microphone? Nope, can't hear you. Okay, that's okay. Go ahead and fix it. How about Caden? Go ahead and read the sentence.
Go back, sir, demanded Robin rudely. The one who's the better man should cross first.
Okay, good. I noticed you kind of slowed down on who's because it's the wrong one, huh? The one who's the better man. So, well, first of all, the vocabulary is rudely. We know what rude means when you're not polite and demanding, and so we know that. But Caden, so whose is incorrect right here? How should we spell that instead of that way?
WHO apostrophe S.
Yes, because it really should be who is the better man? Wait, yeah, the one who is the better man should cross first. That's the homophone. We'll check that one. Go ahead and find the articles by yourself. And then how about Camila? What about the pronoun? That's a tricky one, by the way. Let's see if you can find it.
One.
Good. Yes, one. So we don't see a he or she, but since it's saying the one who's the better man, it's talking about one man. It's referring back to a person. So that's why that's a pronoun, the one. All right, nouns. Okay, William, did you get your microphone fixed? Now you're having trouble. There we go. You say something?
Does it work now?
Yes, there you go. Good. Where are the nouns?
Man
Man
and Robin.
and Robin. There's one more actually, because there's three nouns.
Sir.
Sir, good.
Sir.
Okay, and then Kaden, what about the adverbs? There's three adverbs in here.
Is it cross?
No, cross is going to actually be a verb. But cross, like that's
Should?
the not should. Those are both going to be verbs, but how do you know like when? It
First?
answers when. Yeah, first is actually an adverb because it tells when. And then so adverbs tell when and where. So look at the beginning, go back, sir.
Back?
Yeah, there you go. Tells where, go back. And then there's one more that's an ly adverb.
Rudely?
Yeah, there you go. Good. Who, which clause, Camila?
Who's the better man should cross first?
It's going to be just who's the better man. That part, yeah, not all the way to the end there. And then there's three main clauses, but let's start with the subject verb pairs. Yes, Kaden.
Did you skip over the adjective?
Did I? Oh, you know what? Somebody else told me this too. I don't have it on my list. That's weird. But I heard that you guys do. Do you guys have an adjective on there? Whoa. Let's see. Where is the adjective? Oh, I see it. They just forgot to put it on the list. Um, whose turn is it anyway? Maybe it's William. Where's the adjective? Do you see it?
Better.
Better, because it's describing the man. Thank you, Kaden. It's not on my list for some reason. It's probably a typo. All right, now on to verbs. How about Camila? Can you help find the verbs? I'll tell you there's 4 or 5 in here.
Demanded,
Demanded, yep.
should,
Yep.
cross,
Yes.
go,
Yes.
and
This one's kind of hiding in another word. Last.
is.
There you go. In whose, right here. Just the S part of whose is the verb. And then how about the subjects, Kaden? Who's doing these things? We've got 4 subjects
Sir?
there. Did you say sir?
Yeah.
Well, that's the tricky one. Remember how we talked about the implied subject
Mm,
in the lesson? So he's talking, somebody is talking to the sir. Go back, sir.
Robin?
Yes. So the implied subject, we're going to put you here. It's like a demand. He's basically saying, you go back, sir. So this is where it gets tricky. This is the subject, not sir, because that's who he's talking to. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And then, so that's one subject. Where's the other?
Ma'am?
Man is, oh, no, not there. Go here where it says demanded Robin rudely. So who
One?
demanded? Say it again.
Robin?
Yeah, Robin is a subject there. And then inside the who clause, it's not man.
Whose?
There you go.
Who?
Who, the who part. And then outside of that, the one should cross first. So who should cross first?
The one?
There you go, one. It's weird, huh? This is a weird one. All right, now that we got all those subject verbs, William, how about the main clauses? Where are those going to be?
Um, Go back, sir, demanded Robin rudely.
So this is another tricky part here. It's going to actually be you go back. Sir is the noun of direct address. And whenever we have noun of direct address, we don't include that in the main clause. This is tricky. You might see this again on your homework. So try to remember that. So it's the subject verb has to be in the main clause. So they're here. You go back. We're not including sir in that main clause because it's a noun of direct address. And then this part is a separate main clause. Demanded Robin rudely. So we have a subject verb pair in that main clause. And then there's one more main clause. What do you think, William?
The one, the better man should cross first.
Yes, that's right. And it does include the who clause here because it's in the middle and it has to continue the complete thought on the other side of that who clause right there. So the one who's the better man should go first. Good. A little tricky there. Capitals, you can find those. So it's going to be go, Robin, and the. What about the end? Not the end mark, but the comma, Camila. Do we put one in or take one out? What do you think? It's just one comma.
We put one in after the one.
Sometimes we do, not this time though, because sometimes the who which clause, this one is essential. So when it's essential, we don't put commas around it. So the comma is going to go near the noun of direct address. Remember that rule? So where would the comma go if it's for the noun of direct address?
After the word back.
Yes, there you go. Right here between back and sir. I know you can't really see it on mine, but because sir is that noun of direct address. It's who he's talking to. It's not a name, but still he's talking to a sir. So the noun of direct address requires a comma. All right. Phew. That was a tough one. Period there. Remember, the period goes inside the quotation mark when you go to rewrite it. And like I said earlier, you don't need to write you down here. Just start with go, make it a capital. Okay. Good job, you guys. Any questions about the grammar before we move on? Okay. Go ahead and get out your history books. Last week you wrote about the Underground Railroad. I have not had a chance to grade everybody's work yet. Working on that. Let's just look at the checklist though, because I want to review that with you before we move on to the next lesson. So this is on page 139. You guys are pretty good. You've had my class enough times now that you're pretty good about following the checklist, but I just want to review it again because there's a couple new things on here. So we always have the topic clincher is going to be there now for the rest of this class, okay? And now you've got all 6 openers. So make sure you have 6 words underlined in each paragraph. And then this is the part that's going to start growing more and more is here, the sentence openers. Right now we have 2. There's going to be more. There's 6 of those too altogether. So you'll see that list grow and some other things as we go through this book. But the prepositional opener, there's 2 places you can find a list. One of them is in your grammar book. At the back of your book, there's a list of prepositions. And there's also a list of prepositions in this book. Pretty sure we marked that page for you with a Post-it. And then the ly adverb opener. So you should have 2 sentences that start with an opener in each paragraph. And then your banned words. It's funny because in this book, it's not as long of a list as in your binder. Like last year, you had a really long list of banned words, but you just have go, went, say, said, good, bad, pretty, big, and small. Okay, so does anybody feel like reading their Underground Railroad story today? Thank you, Camila. William, why are you turning off your camera? Kaden, you feel like reading yours or not today? Not today. All right. Camila, it's all you today. William, you got out of it. You can turn your camera back on. Do you want me to pull it up for you, Camila, or do you have it? Looks like you're looking for it. I can pull it up if you need me to. So while she's working on that, today we're going to move into the Civil War. Have you guys read about that before or heard about the Civil War? Okay, good. So this will be a little refresher for you, but that is what happened after that Underground Railroad. Remember, we talked about Harriet Tubman and how she was trying to free the slaves, and they were creating this network to try to help slaves get out of their situation. Okay, I see that, Camila. So that triggered a war within the United States. It's the only war that we had in our history where it didn't involve anybody else outside of America. It's a civil war. It was among the civilians, among the people. So, just a crazy, crazy, awful time, but we're going to talk about it today. So, anyway, go ahead, Camila, whenever you're ready.
A Journey to Freedom. One chilly, foggy night, Harry, Marla, and Marie, who were a family, were slaves trying to escape. They were out in the dangers of the forest and the animals. Anxiously, they moved quickly. After they escaped, they pondered what they would do when they escaped to Canada. Eventually, they ran into some people who were working with the Underground Railroad. Because they were working with the Underground Railroad, they kindly allowed the family who wanted to escape to hide in the box beneath the wagon. During their travel to Canada, a couple of bounty hunters who had some large dogs stopped the wagon. They checked the wagon. Luckily, the bounty hunters' dogs didn't catch the family's scent because they were buried in fruit. After asking a few questions, the bounty hunters left. Although they left, they made sure to keep an eye on them. They then continued on their journey to Canada. During their travel, the man in the wagon dropped them off a couple of miles from the Mississippi River. Eventually, they met up with another guy who was going to help them with their journey to freedom. Because he worked with the Underground Railroad, just as they were going to board the kind man's boat, some bounty hunters arrived. Harry rushed his family onto the raft and took off running to create a distraction. The bounty hunters chased him. His family then watched as he was shot and killed. At this moment, they were distraught, but Marla knew that they had to continue. 2 months later, Marla and her daughter, Marie, made it across the Canadian border. Their deplorable journey to freedom was over.
Wow, Camila. Wow. Wow, that has to be one of your best yet. Good job, man. That was very well written. I'm proud of you. That's really, really good. I heard a lot of great dress ups in there and the vocabulary words. And I really like how you kept it to the facts of that time period, what the slaves were trying to do to find freedom. So well done, man. That was really good. I'm super, super proud of you. It's awesome. Nice. I love hearing you guys. I know sometimes it's like you get nervous about that, but as far as everybody, but I just love, love, love hearing you read your own stories and your own papers because I've known you guys for a few years now. And I knew where you were at when you first started with me. And to hear you write is like, and then read it, it's just every teacher's dream, I'm telling you. All right, let's move on to page 142 now. I don't have a video for you today because I just really want to read that historical information here. it pretty much it does a great job of describing what life was like during that time and what happened. And it gives us a little extra time to talk about other things today. So we're just going to read this. By the way, remember the Underground Railroad happened between 1830 and 1862. And then it talks about during the Civil War started in 1861. So it was they overlapped 1 year. There was a little overlap with what was happening with that Underground Railroad. And I think, like I said earlier, it triggered this because some people, it's hard to imagine, but this is real. Some people were upset about slaves finding freedom. It's so hard for us to understand today because we do not have slavery. Well, at least it's illegal today. I mean, it's not something that we see all the time. And so it's hard to imagine that people wanted slaves, to work on their farms and to serve them and clean their houses and take care of their children, and they basically were like property. So just so you know the timeline, that happened, the Civil War was between 1861 and 1865. So 4 years, 4 whole years, Americans fought Americans. It's the only time in history, and it's really shocking that actually happened, but it did. So during that Civil War, okay, and we know about Abraham Lincoln, and he was elected president during that time. So when Abraham Lincoln was elected president, the southern states feared that slavery would eventually be outlawed. So the southern states wanted slavery. The South had many huge cotton and tobacco plantations that depended upon slave labor. So the southern states tried to leave the Union to form their own separate nation called the Confederate States of America. They wanted to just separate from the rest of the United States. They even elected their own president, Jefferson Davis. So at the time, they were trying to have their own leader while Abraham Lincoln was also president. President Lincoln did not believe the South had the right to leave the country, so he did not remove U.S. soldiers from the South. On April 12, 1861, Southern Confederate soldiers attacked Union soldiers at Fort Sumter in South Carolina. The Civil War began. Both sides fought for what they believed was a just cause. The war was America's bloodiest and deadliest war ever, killing about 620,000 men and boys. In those days, the women were not in military. Only men and boys were in military. But isn't that shocking though? It's shocking. It's not like they were fighting against another country who was trying to take power or, overthrow the government or something like that. It was actually within our own, we're all Americans and they were fighting each other. The Civil War was sometimes called the Boys' War because so many teens fought in it. Some of the youngest boys were drummer boys. They had the important role of relaying orders across a camp or battlefield with their drum beats. Drummer boys were also stretcher bearers. It was their job to search the battlefields for wounded soldiers and bring them to the medics. Some drummer boys became fighting soldiers. Johnny Clem joined the Union Army as a drummer boy at 9 years old. 9. Can you imagine? 9 years old. Is anybody 9 in here right now? No, you guys are older than that, huh? Yeah. That's like, oh, there you go. Okay, Olivia is 9. There you go. I mean, can you imagine going to war at your age? And these drummer boys were carrying wounded soldiers. They probably saw some terrible things, broken bones and bloody bodies. I mean, and these young kids were having to deal with that. So it's just shocking. And some of our history is really hard to talk about. And this is one of those times. He became a sergeant at 12 years old. Okay, is anybody 12 in here? No? You're 12, Caden? So there you go, sergeant. That's one of like the in the military, a leader at 12 years old and was most likely the youngest Union soldier. 12. All right, and there's a pretty cool picture. And there's the drummer boy. Let's go to the next side. So that basically the United States, the southern states wanted to keep slavery because they had cotton and tobacco plantations, which are like crops, large crops. That's how they were making their money, but they couldn't manage it without slaves. But this had to happen in our history in order for us as a human race to treat humans better. Because some slaves were not treated correctly. Some slaves were treated okay, but a lot of them were not. And that is what needed to happen in our nation in order for us as a society to realize that treating people poorly, like hurting them or beating them or abusing them, is wrong. And it took this for the people to realize that. So in the end, it was a good thing to resolve that and to make slavery illegal. All right, so here we are to our story pictures this week. This will be the last one we do with pictures, more creative writing. So the rules are still the same here as they have been with pictures, and it's nice they have your list of questions on the side. Who, what, when, where, why, how. Those are the big 6. Doing, like what are they doing? What are they thinking, feeling, saying? What happened before? What happened after? And maybe what's outside of the frame. Remember last year we talked about maybe invisible, like what could be that we don't see inside the picture that could be there. More people, maybe explosions, stuff that we don't see in the background. So, this is where, again, you can create names for your characters in your story, but you're going to keep to the same historical facts about what was going on here during the Civil War. Oh, you're unmuted, Camila. I don't know how that happened. So, central fact is what you literally see in the picture. So like for this one, there's a drummer boy. Remember those? And this is really about the drummer boy. And you can name him. And then these are other soldiers with him. They could be friends. They could just be soldiers and like fighting on the same side of the war. Remember, it was between the North and the South. South wanted slavery. North didn't want slavery. And that's part of the reason why the Underground Railroad was moving north. Remember, they went up to Canada, like in Camila's story. Because in the north, they were against slavery, especially across the border in Canada. So, anybody have any ideas of how they're going to tell this story? Looking at these pictures here, obviously this middle one, they're either wounded or they might be dead. In the picture, you can decide that. Caden, you have an idea?
Well, I have an idea and a question, but
Okay.
question is when is the end of the pictures?
Here?
Like, no, like, sorry. When are we done with doing the picture?
Oh, let me look ahead, but I think this is the last one. Yeah, this is the last one.
I was gonna do wounded, and then he was gonna bring them back, and because of that, he got promoted.
That makes sense. Yeah, because down here he's got an award, and it looks like it's like a Purple Heart maybe award. I don't know if you've ever heard of that one in the military before for someone's bravery. Um, yeah, that's a good one. So maybe they aren't dead. Maybe these guys are wounded and he was able to get them. I don't know how he would do it by himself. Maybe he got help or he was able to, I don't know, drag them out of the way of the where there was a battle. Anybody else have any ideas on how you're going to tell this? Okay, so this is a little harder to do than like when we wrote about pictures in the binder, you could make them silly. Remember, we were making silly stuff, and when we were writing about, oh gosh, what was something we wrote about? Like hot dog on a stick, I think was one like from, yeah. But this is more of a serious style writing. William, I saw your hand there. Did you want to ask me something?
Um, maybe the drummer could bring the medics to drag the soldiers to the camp.
Bring the meds, is that what you said? Yeah, like the medicine. Yep. That's a good one. He could be like carrying a backpack that we don't see in the picture and it has supplies. Maybe he was able to help them on the spot there on the battlefield. I like that. It's a good idea. And then at the end that makes sense. So he would get the award for helping, or maybe he was promoted to sergeant, like we were reading about, what was his name again? Johnny Clem. Um, so go ahead and start putting down some ideas here. You can put down some keywords just to brainstorm a little bit. Think of some names. They're gonna be boys because during that time they were only boys were part of the military. So you can name them. Maybe they became friends while they were in the military. I think that happens a lot because they're in a tragic situation together and it kind of makes people bond, going through things like that. Um, but the central fact, remember, we're still going to do 3 words. You can use symbols and abbreviations if you need to, and numbers. So who are they and where are they? Remember, go through these questions. Let's talk for a second about what they might be thinking or feeling in that situation. Does anybody have any ideas in any of these pictures? How do you think the drummer boy was feeling and thinking? Maybe let's look at the first one, like marching. What do you think he was thinking as they're marching into battle or feeling? I mean, obviously, I'm thinking he's scared, right? I know he's been trained, but remember, they're young, 9 years old. So even if they were trained, they don't have enough life experience to really understand what they're about to walk into, It's a lot. So, oh, you could mention too about, you remember when we read about the historical information, how the drum beats were a signal. Like, I don't know what it sounded like, but maybe a faster beat meant something like the enemy is close, or a slower beat meant you have some time. Or, you know what I mean? I don't know what the codes were, but you can create that if you can think of something like what style of a beat, like a drum roll or like a rhythmic pounding on the drums meant something. You can kind of make up that kind of stuff. So go ahead and take some notes here. I'm going to give you a couple minutes to work on that. And maybe talk about where they're headed. It could be that they were, I know it was the North and South fighting, but there were forests, there were deserts, there were like mountain areas. I mean, it just was in different areas that they went to fight. South Carolina, I know South Carolina is pretty flat, so there might have been like open fields there. Okay, I'm going to give you guys about like 3 or 4 minutes to work on it. Let me know if you have any questions. One more thing while you're writing, because the Union that it refers to, and that's historical information, the Union, that represented those who were the states that remained loyal to the government. So those are the northern states, was the Union. And then the Confederate states, those were the ones that were trying to rebel and separate. If you need to go back to that page 142 for some of those words, you can use that page to help you too. Okay, go ahead and finish up the one you're on. Okay, so don't forget to use these question words. If you get stuck and you can't think of anything, look at the questions, especially down below, these thinking and feeling and doing and all of these down here. Those will help you come up with a plot. Okay. But let's go on to the other pages. Sometimes we run out of time and we don't get to really look at these other pages. So go on to page 144. This is just practice with that topic sentence. So, and you can look back at your first Roman numeral 1 if you already put down your keywords there. They're wanting you to practice writing your first sentence of that first paragraph. So look back on what you put and think of your first sentence, your topic sentence there, and go ahead and write a complete sentence using those keywords from Roman numeral 1 on the page before. Okay, so just flip back there and hopefully you wrote down a name, some names and where they're headed or some kind of a starting sentence for your first paragraph and write it here. And their example here says, with his drum, Johnny proudly marched alongside the Union troops. That's their idea. If you want to do something similar to that, that's fine. The Union was the northern states. They were the ones that were dedicated to staying with the United States and Abraham Lincoln at the time. Give me a thumbs up when you guys get a sentence down. So what you're doing right here, William, is use your, from page 143, your Roman numeral 1, your topic sentence for your first paragraph. Go ahead and use those keywords and write your first sentence, okay? Okay, thank you, Kaden. What did you put?
I put Bob was a drummer boy who was in the Civil War marching bravely with the troops.
Nice. Hey, Bob's back. Awesome. I love it. It's a great sentence too. So in your clincher sentence for that paragraph, you can tie that together with 2 or 3 of those words. Repeat or reflect. Did you get a sentence? Okay, good. Camila, what's your sentence?
Johnny, who was a drummer boy in the war, anxiously walked beside the other soldiers.
Nice. Oh, I like that. Anxiously. You already got your ly in there. Very good. So when you write your clincher, you could use a word that reflects anxiously. What could you say in your clincher that's not exactly anxiously, but similar to that? What do you think, Camila? Can you think of another word you could use in your clincher? Something like anxious. I think you could use like worried or fearful or scared, those types of words, even though they don't have ly at the end, they're similar to anxiously because anxious is like stressed, you know, or worried or scared or fearful, something like that. So just an idea for you later, you could use one of those words that reflects. How about William? Did you get a chance to write a sentence yet? What did you put?
With about 10 other soldiers, Jeff walked slowly while drumming a quick rhythm.
A quick rhythm. Okay, I like that. Nice. Okay, good job, you guys. Let's jump down here to the style practice. Prepositional openers. So here's some practice. Blank, they were headed to battle. By the way, it says right here, follow the comma rule on page 115. I think that also has the list too. Let me just double check here. I think it does. Yeah. So page 115, that's a good page to go back to for your list of prepositions. Anybody have an idea for number 1? Blank, they were headed to battle. A prepositional opener. You could flip to 115 to see those words if you need to. Blank, they were headed to battle. Kaden, what do you think?
Through the soldiers.
Through the soldiers? Is that what you said?
Yeah, like going through the soldiers to get into battle.
Yeah, that might work. Through the soldiers, or maybe through the forest. That might make a little more sense rather than through the soldiers. Oh, I guess they could be like getting in front of the soldiers. Okay, yeah, that would actually work. Any other ideas out there? How you could start that? William?
With the soldiers.
Okay, with, yep, with the soldiers. That's a good one. Okay. Or in the dark, something like that. In is a good prepositional opener. Okay, let's jump down here. We're just gonna do the number ones so that we can practice each one of these. But what about an ly adverb here? Blank, Johnny beat his drum. Somethingly, Johnny beat his drum. Could be like proudly Johnny beat his drum. How else could he beat his drum? Somethingly, Johnny beat his drum. Camila?
Quickly,
Quickly, that would work. Quickly, Johnny beat his drum. Caden?
Would tactly be an ly adverb?
Tactly?
Yeah.
Um, I think it would actually be tactfully. Tactfully.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember meaning like almost like respectfully. Tactly. Let me just double check. Maybe it is tactly. Tactfully. It's basically, I don't know if that one would work actually. I guess that, I mean, it's, I don't know. I got to think about that one. Tactfully. I just looked it up and it's a skill with sensitivity in dealing with others or with difficult issues. So yeah, it is a difficult issue that he's in. So think about that one. Okay, let's move on to page 145. This is the Asia dress up. Remember Asia, www.asia. You guys have that memorized. I know you do. So it says write a sentence with www.asia clause that you could use in your compositions. Remember to add the clause to a sentence that is already complete. So their example is like Johnny continued to fire while bullets whizzed all around him. That's the example they're giving me here. So remember when, while, where, as, since, if, although. We're not including because it's a separate clause, a separate, yeah, dress up down here. So anybody think of one of the Asia words you could put in a sentence about Bob or Johnny or whatever your character's name is? Maybe he beat his drum while marching through something. Okay, I see that. Camila and then Caden.
as the war went on, Johnny fired the cannon.
Okay, that works. And that's an opener, and that's okay. You can use that too. What do you think, Caden?
When the soldiers went down, Bob had to get them on the stretcher.
When the soldiers went down. I like that. Yep. So just real quick here, the because clause, that's when you're explaining why something is the way it is, and watch out for because of. Don't use because of. That is not a clause, that's more of a preposition. So explain why something is the way it is. And then you already know the who, which clause, but let's jump down here to quality adjective, dress up. Next, it just says next to each noun, write ideas for adjectives. So let's jump to number 2, the drummer boy. What's a word to describe the drummer boy? Can you guys think of a word that would describe him? William?
The frightened drummer boy.
I like that. That's true. And I'm sure he was the frightened. Any other ideas? Maybe young. He was probably young. That would be a good adjective. Young drummer boy. Any others? One more you can think of to describe him? Go ahead, William.
Anxious.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, let's turn over to page 146. And you can work on these pages during your homework time as far as practicing using some of these strong verbs. These pages will help you come up with some words to use in your writing. But here we are to the vocabulary practice. And man, I didn't watch the time good enough, but vocabulary is going to be week or lesson 15 in the back, 323, lesson 15. You're going to use 2 of these again, anywhere in your story. Diminish means to lessen. Diminish. So if the firing and the war and the explosions began to diminish, that means it was nearing the end of that battle or war. So diminish is to lessen. Awestruck, filled with wonder, amazement, or dread. So it could be a positive feeling or a negative feeling, awestruck. Maybe he was awestruck when he received his award, but maybe he was awestruck when he saw all the dead bodies or bloody, soldiers, because that's more like dread. It's like, oh, awful, right? Awestruck. Solemn is serious or earnest. So they might have felt that, as they were waiting for something, they were solemn. And then we've got encounter, to come upon unexpectedly or in conflict. So they encountered the enemy. That would be an example there. That one is actually a verb. Okay. So that's all we have time for. So make sure you use 2 of these somewhere in your story. And I won't see you for a few weeks because we're coming up on our Christmas break here. So enjoy time with your family and Merry Christmas. I see your little brother. He's so cute. He's getting big. Oh my goodness. Hi. How old is he now? Oh, you're 1? Are you 1? And there's your other brother. Oh my goodness. There's your whole family. You're so cute. Have fun, you guys. Enjoy your time off and enjoy family. And I'll see you next year in 2026. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.